Can you imagine waking up to this every day? Minneapolis's largest lake with beaches, bike trails, paddling, and $1 million views. So whether you're actually considering making a move or just dreaming, you're going to want to stick around to this one. We are doing the full loop around Minneapolis's largest lake, Bde Maka Ska. I'm going to show you some spots even the locals don't know about, and you're going to want to stick around at the end. I am going to show you a one of one in the world museum right on the shores of this lake. Let's get after it. So at the north end of the lake, there's a few things to know. Behind me is going to be the largest beach you will find on Calhoun. I deliberately got here kind of early today because this place gets really busy and people don't like it when you're filming family and kids with video. So I like to do these when we're not disturbing people. So north end of the lake, you're going to find the beach, and across the street, you are going to find a bunch of high-end condos, including the famous Calhoun Beach Club, the Chilango restaurant. You will also find a Whole Foods, some shops, and there has been a whole slew of new apartment buildings and high-rise living that has gone up right on the end of this lake, because as you can imagine, being on this chain of lakes is a very desirable spot to be from a real estate standpoint here in the Twin Cities. Some of you guys might know Bde Maka Ska better as Lake Calhoun. Lake Calhoun, Bde Maka Ska, whatever you want to call it, was officially renamed back from Lake Calhoun to Lake Bde Maka Ska in 2018 as part of just restoring this lake, or the name, to its original heritage. It was a Dakota lake, and the name translates to White Earth Lake in the Dakota language. A little bit about this lake. This is the largest lake that is in the city, contained entirely in the city of Minneapolis. It's just over 400 acres and gets to be about 87, almost 90 feet deep at its deepest point. And oh, by the way, if we haven't met, my name's Chris. Thank you for joining me. Myself, business partner Trevor, our team, we like to get out into these Twin Cities communities and show you guys what life is like up here in the great north. So if you're thinking of making a move, honestly, it does not matter if it's 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. Contact information is all right here. It's also down below. Reach out if we can help you. It's what we do. So we touched on this in the opener. Lake Bde Maka Ska is going to be part of Minneapolis's famous chain of lakes that is comprised of 5 metro lakes. Those lakes are going to be Lake Harriet, Lake Bde Maka Ska, which we are currently walking around, Lake of the Isles, Cedar Lake, and Brownie Lake, which is going to be the smallest of the 5. And what's cool about these lakes is they are all interconnected. And what this brings to the public is something like 1,155 acres of public space, trails, lakes to get out and enjoy, all connected via biking and walking trails. So it's a really cool way to get out into the cities, get around these lakes, enjoy some paddleboarding, go for a walk, bring your bike, take the kids, whatever you want to do, and maximize some of this fantastic green park and lake space that Minneapolis has and brings to the table. So we're rounding the northern edge of the lake, and this is just one of my favorite part of the trails. You have these massive cottonwood trees that you can see that literally kind of create this archway over the walk. It's just really beautiful. You've got the lake right next door. We've got Uptown Minneapolis and right in front of us. There's nothing not to love. So as we round this northern edge, we are about to officially start going down the east side of the lake. But right on this north, where the north and eastern edges meet, is an important point on this lake. So behind me is going to be Lake Street, which is going to feed you directly into Uptown. Uptown will be great for nightlife, dining, shopping, bars, apartments, affordable living, lots of things like that. And in case you're wondering, we're about 2.5 miles from downtown Minneapolis at this point. And again, that's going to be directly behind me. Also on the northern edge is going to be the transition point. Kind of a cool thing about the chain of lakes, 4 of them are connected by waterways, and that's going to be Bde Maka Ska connected to Lake of the Isles, Cedar Lake, and Brownie Lake. And on the northern edge is right where we're going to find this man-made canal that will put you from Bde Maka Ska. You can get into your kayak, canoe, whatever you like, just no big motors, and go from one lake to the next. So just a really cool thing to know about these lakes. And it's also where you are going to find pimento. So let's check that out next. So behind me is Pimento, and that's going to be the only restaurant on Bde Maka Ska. And again, I came pretty early. I like to avoid the crowd, so there's nobody here at the moment. But late afternoon, evening, and on the weekends, you will find people sitting here having cocktails, having some food, and it's kind of cool. So Pimento, you've got a place, Jamaican kind of inspired restaurant. You can get food, hot food to take out. They've also got a market where you can go grab, grab and go food and drinks, that kind of thing. So some options for you. Kind of a cool little spot. This place has had some history. It was 2004, I believe. This was the first restaurant to open, a private restaurant on public city land, and it's been extremely popular and profitable ever since. This used to be a restaurant called the Tin Fish. That changed hands, I believe, in 2018 to something called Lola's on the Lake. Lola's on the Lake came into town and burned down real quick, unfortunately. The building was a total loss, so this structure is pretty much brand new behind me, and it's very nice. It's a great place just to stop, relax, grab a bite, have a drink when you're walking around this lake. So right on this northeast corner, before we officially start walking down the east end of the lake, is a couple things. Number one, you're going to find the only boat ramp on Bde Maka Ska. Now, similar to Lake Harriet, you guys with the 500 horsepower outboards, probably not the lake. This is going to be a non-motorized lake only. They've also got, as you can see, they've got great, rentals, paddle boards, kayaks, paddle boats, all kinds of things. So you don't need a boat. Just show up. It's pretty affordable. You can rent a boat, get out on the lake. And additionally, and the last thing we're going to find here is the Minneapolis Sailing Club, which offers some classes, opportunities to get out and learn to sail. And we're going to get you actually in touch with one of these experts here to tell you more about the Minneapolis Sailing Club right now. All right, guys. So just like Lake Harriet, Lake Bde Maka Ska also has its own sailing organization. And I found a gentleman named Nathan kind enough to talk to us, who is much more educated and can speak to this more intelligently than I can. So Nathan, what can we find on Bde Maka Ska as far as sailing?
Yeah, so I'm down here at the Sailing Center. We offer classes for both kids and adults to learn how to sail. It's all set up, so if you've never been sailing before, we'll get you out on the water.
That'd be me.
And then after you learn how to sail, we have a membership program. So you can pay a yearly fee and come down and use our boats. You don't have to own a boat or put it in the water or maintain it or store it in the winter. So we're a nonprofit focused around making sailing more accessible and getting more people out sailing. So yeah,
Super cool.
trying to make it easy.
Awesome. One quick question, then I'll let you go. So, like,
Yeah.
I know Lake Harriet also, which is right over there, has its own, sailing
hmm
organization. What would you say the difference really is between what happens on Bde Maka Ska versus Harriet, or is there one?
Yeah, they're really just different organizations. We do a lot more teaching here. So if you want to learn how to sail, this is definitely a great place to do that. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
sure.
All right, so we are officially turning south, heading down the east end of Lake Bde Maka Ska. And I'm sure pretty obvious, just like, like to point it out, similar to Lake of the Isles, Lake Harriet, fantastic job with the trail set up around all these lakes. We've got a separate lane for pedestrian traffic, separate lane for bike traffic, even though, check that out, we have somebody living on the edge running in the biking lane. But for the most part, guys, trails going to be very safe and very good around these lakes. So I just want to hit on the real estate vibe as we walk around Bde Maka Ska here and kind of tell you what you're getting into and what you can expect. Bde Maka Ska is going to be a lot different than Lake Harriet, which we've got an awesome video on if you haven't seen, and Lake of the Isles. And here's going to be the difference. So Bde Maka Ska is much more close to the downtown center of Minneapolis, whereas Lake Harriet, for example, is almost entirely tucked into the Linden Hills neighborhood. Very desirable, much more expensive. So around Bde Maka Ska, you're going to have a lot more condo options, apartment options that are going to keep things a bit more affordable. Now, as we get around the south end of this lake, that's going to be, again, tucking into Linden Hills, and you will see home values down there take a big leap up. Now we're going to get into these much bigger, larger, on the lake, $1 million, multi-million-dollar estates. But if you want to get on a lake in Minneapolis, and specifically the chain of lakes, the shores of Bde Maka Ska could be a good place to start looking. So we are at our first piece of real estate, and that is going to be a condo in this building directly behind me, my friends. And what do you get for your money? So right here for $325,000, you get 860 square feet, a one bed, one bath, one car garage. Someone check my math, but I believe that's going to put us just under $400 a square foot. And remember, about average for the Twin Cities Metro is $200 a square foot. So significantly more expensive than your average real estate. But of course, you're paying for the location. You are, I'm looking at it right now, 100 feet off of Lake Bde Maka Ska, the trails, and you're right on the doorstep of Uptown. So there are options. 325 puts you right on Bde Maka Ska. So we are about halfway down, heading south down the east side, down Bde Maka Ska. And behind me here is the 32nd Street Beach. This is just another popular swimming point for families, good sized beach. Along with the beach, you've got a playground for the kids, park benches. It's just a great place to set up shop for an afternoon and hang out. So we're heading down kind of the last part of the eastern end of the lake, about to hit the southern, kind of round the bend at the southern turn. And this spot here, you will find people just kind of fishing along the shore. There are multiple fishing piers and opportunities on the lake, and the fishing is pretty good. Just like Lake Harriet, there have been some big muskies pulled out of here. You will find walleye, other sport fish in here. Again, this lake gets almost 90 feet deep. That being said, there are advisories on eating fish, high phosphorus level, mercury levels, things like that. So you want to probably do your own research, keep your wits about you a little bit if you're planning to do more than catch and release. But man, if you want a spot in your backyard, right in the middle of the Minneapolis Metro where you can catch your fish, these lakes are a pretty legitimate option for my fisher friends. Well, similar to the north end of the lake, as we're hit the south end, there's no shortage of things to tell you guys about. So on the south end of the lake, you're going to have the expansive, very large Lakewood Cemetery. You are also going to find the Como Harriet rail car. Now, this is a pretty interesting thing. This is an old school rail car tucked right in by the lake, and it runs between Lake Harriet and Lake Bde Maka Ska. Round trip takes about 15 minutes. It's less than $10. They'll give you a narrated tour, a little bit about the area, some of the history. Pretty cool little thing, really cool to take your kids on. This is mainly going to run evenings in the summer and weekends. Most of the rest of the time, it's not running in the winter, of course. That is just one of the things you are going to find down at the south end of this lake. Well, I feel like being generous today, so I'm going to set myself up to get absolutely obliterated here in the comments. But the other really cool thing at the south end of Lake Bde Maka Ska is going to be this tribute to a Dakota village. And I'm going to do my best to pronounce this, so get ready to destroy me. Heata Otunwe is how I am going to say it. I am sure that is wrong. Somebody smarter than me can correct me in the comments. But the historical significance of this village is, one, it was really the first permanent Dakota settlement in the Minneapolis area year-round. And it was also the site of the first schools for Dakota children, but also people of mixed heritage. And they've just set the area up pretty cool. They've got some native plants. They've got some art and symbolism kind of etched into the sidewalk as you walk by this area. Really cool circle gathering spot right on the edge of the lake. So it's just another one of these interesting points you might want to check out as you make your way around the lake. All right, so I had to cheat here a little bit. I'm a couple blocks off the lake, basically at the intersection of 33rd Street and Irvine Avenue. And just wanted to show you guys a little bit of some of the homes that you can get. I mentioned there are some more affordable options. So this home to my right sold recently for $550,000. This is a 3-bed, 3-bath, about 2,600 square feet, built in the early 1900s. Sold for $550,000, like I said, putting it just about $208 a square foot. So pretty on par with standard prices, standard real estate prices in Minneapolis. And you can begin to see a little bit of what these neighborhoods and style of homes look like. A lot of them are going to be a bit older. Obviously, many of them have been fully renovated, updated, things of that nature. One more home to show you, then we're going to sneak back down to the lake, and that would be this one just behind me here. So this is literally about 6 houses just down the street from the one I just showed you at $550,000. This is also a 3-bedroom, also a 3-bathroom, less square footage. Last one was 2,600 or so. This one is just under 2,000 at about 1,900. This one went for $876,000. Someone math check me, but somewhere around 440 a square foot. So almost double the price on a square footage basis as the last one we looked at. And again, that's going to be how these neighborhoods operate. I can't tell you this is the neighborhoods with $200,000 homes and this is the one with $500,000 homes. You will find the 800,000s next to the 500, next to somebody who plowed one into the ground and put up a new $3 million home. I love it about these neighborhoods and what makes them interesting, diverse, and not cookie cutter. So around with the other lakes in the Minneapolis Chain of Lakes, Bde Maka Ska is of course part of the Grand Round Scenic Byway, which is over 50 miles of interconnected parks, trails, nature preserves, kind of looping all through the Minneapolis metro. Just a really cool part of the park system. All right, so Thomas Beach, kind of right on the southwest edge of Bde Maka Ska, and if there is a party point on this lake, this is it. Again, it's about 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, so it's relatively quiet here now. But you come here in the evenings or a weekend, and this place is going to be bumping. You will find a lot of people bringing their own grills. I don't know about you guys. Every time I walk around this lake, I see one of these new games. Like, you know, it used to be beanbag toss, cornhole. Every time I go out, there's some new game with somebody throwing a beanbag or a stick at something. So you're going to find a lot of that around here. Big sand volleyball courts. There's just a lot of green space. It's just a really good area for people to hang out. All right, just another one of these opportunities to give you guys a little taste of local real estate. So behind me, a vacant lot, obviously, but this is a lakefront lot right across from Thomas Beach, tucked into Linden Hills. This is pretty prime Bde Maka Ska lakefront real estate. So this is advertised as new construction, and it is what's listed as coming in here is going to be a 4-bed, 3-bath at about 3,500 square feet for $3.5 million. That puts this thing at $1,000 a square foot, my friends. I mean, those are Lake Minnetonka prices. So premier pricing, but definitely some premier real estate. And right across the street, we actually have another one here that just recently sold. I'm going to show you next. So literally right across the street from the to-be new construction, you can see this home over my left shoulder. I personally love these modern looking homes, super cool. This is a 2016 built property. It is going to be a 3-bed, 3-bath, about 2,700 square feet, significantly cheaper than what's going in next door. This one sold back in June for about 1.6 million, putting it at about a 40% discount to the new construction on a cost per square foot, going at about $600 a square foot. So really cool home right across from Thomas Beach, a premier Bde Maka Ska lakefront property. Very typical of what you're going to find around here. You get around the southern corner and really start up this western edge of the lake. One of the really cool things just to note is the skyline Minneapolis views. Looks like Canada got the memo and canned that wildfire smoke, so we can actually see it. I'm just kidding. I love you, Canada. But awesome views. You can see it here. You will also find spectacular views, skyline views in the evening and at night when that skyline is all lit up. So, man, it doesn't matter day or night, summer or winter, these lakes bring something all the time. On where the southern edge transitions into the western side of Bde Maka Ska is also where you're going to find this transition point, where you can see behind me here. And if you go back over my left shoulder and keep going, it's just a half mile or so right over to Lake Harriet. Very easy to walk or take your bike. Again, part of the draw to this area is all these lakes and trails are so seamlessly connected that it just makes getting around very easy. Also of note, now that we're on the southern end here, we are pretty much in the Linden Hills neighborhood of Minneapolis. Definitely going to be higher end price points, but some fantastic looking real estate. One thing we haven't talked too much about here yet is just vibe, kind of the personality of this lake, and it's definitely got a personality. So I'm not going to call it a party lake, but when you contrast it to its, lake chain brethren like Lake Harriet and Lake of the Isles, Bde Maka Ska is definitely the most boisterous, especially around Thomas Beach on the weekends. You're gonna get loud music, people having parties in the park, cars driving by, top down, system up, that kind of thing. So it's a really fun place to be. It is not the most peaceful, quiet of these lakes. If you want a lake that's going to be a bit more toned down in far as personality, Isles or Lake Harriet is probably going to be a little bit better fit. So I can't help myself. I'm going to hop off the lake here one more time. There's two really cool properties very different, for sale, just a block off the lake. So we're gonna buzz up and show you guys what those look like real quick here. This video is never gonna do this house justice, but check out this house behind me. This thing is freaking amazing. And let me tell you just a little bit about why that is. Aside from the stunning curb appeal, when I initially looked at this, I thought it was going to be an older home renovated. Nah, this thing is built in 2008. It just looks like a castle. And let me tell you why this house is awesome. On this hill like this, so the direction I'm facing, they are going to have views out over Bde Maka Ska, including skyline views of downtown Minneapolis. Awesome, good start. On the back side of this home, this thing is going to buttress right up against the Minneapolis Country Club. Minneapolis Country Club is an extremely exclusive place. From what I could find online, your initiation dues are $75,000 to $100,000. It is the oldest country club west of the Mississippi. It's a big deal. So out the back of this house, you've got Minneapolis Country Club. Out the front, you've got Bde Maka Ska skyline views. This thing is coming in at over 11,000 square feet. It is currently listed at $5.2 million, something like a 6-bed, 9-bathroom, right around $443 a square feet. So on a price per square foot basis, surprisingly affordable compared to that 1,000 a square foot new construction we have. But man, this is, if you know where to look, some of these areas off these lakes, there is phenomenal homes like this. So we got one more stop home-wise on our little lake real estate tour. So again, couple blocks off the lake this one is, but just wanted to show you what your money will get you. So this is listed at $1.9 million. A little bit about this one: 4-bed, 5-bath. This one's going to be about 4,300 square feet, 2-car garage. This one is built in 1932. Price per square foot is going to be very comparable to the castle we just looked at right around the 440 mark a square foot. And this one's actively for sale, my friend. So if you want to give me a buzz. But again, this should kind of help give you an idea of what some of these homes right around the lake look like. So we're getting pretty close to winding this video up. You know, I just wanted to share with you guys, these lakes, all of them are some of my most favorite spots in the Twin Cities metro. I have been walking around all of these lakes most of my life as I have grown to be an adult. I have come to appreciate it even more, you know, after a stressful day of work, which I know none of you guys have that. You know, it's great. They're accessible, they're safe, they're easy. The trails are well maintained. They're a jewel of Minneapolis. And I would encourage all of you guys, either just visiting or thinking about making a move, check this area out. It's absolutely one of the nicest parts of Minneapolis. Well, I told you if you stuck with me till the end, I was going to show you a one of one, and here it is. This is the Bakken Museum, and this is the only museum in the world dedicated to showcasing how electricity and magnets have been used in the medical field. And I'm not sure how many museums we need in the world with that, but this is the only one. And it's a really cool spot. It's very affordable, quick place to buzz through with your kids. It is also a cool chance to just walk through, frankly, a really cool old mansion. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for joining me, guys. Contact information, again, it's right here down below. If you're making a move, reach out. We'd love to help you. Local friends, love to see what you think, what your take on Bde Maka Ska is as well. I'll see you on the next video.